Mademmyify ASMR. Welcome back to Mademmyify ASMR. And apologies in advance for the damp hair. I've just been on a walk with the dog and it was very wet, and so I had a shower to warm up, and I hoped that my hair would dry like in between having the shower and having tea and recording, but it has not. I've literally just finished filming a video with Rossi where of course he did not behave, but a lovely little story about his adoption and meeting him and giving him some strokes and stuff. So hopefully that's a video that you can enjoy next week. But this week's video, I thought that I would just talk for a little bit because it has been a while since we have just talked, and I'm sorry for that because I do like doing ramble videos and I do like doing live update videos. Like, maybe you don't like them, but well, basically the way I have always seen my channel and the way I have always wanted to run my channel is that I see all of you who are watching as my friends and who's someone who I can talk to, and who can talk to me if they wish to. That's why, like, I will always try and respond to comments if I can think of an appropriate response. If someone leaves a comment where it's not something particularly nice, I'm not going to respond to that, or I'd rather just leave it, because, you know, if you've got nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. But yeah, it's been a while since I've done a video like this. I think the last one may have been the start or the midway through the craziness that is the world right now. I think it was just before I moved out of my old place and into, sorry, I'm just paranoid that I didn't actually have my microphone plugged in. Yeah, before I moved into John's house. And I guess a lot has happened since then, or a lot has happened this year. A lot has happened since I started my channel. A lot of things I maybe haven't talked about in previous videos that I'm going to talk about in this video. This video, in a way, is my 400 subscriber special ramble. Yeah, when I started this channel, I think it was 2 years ago, in 2018. That sounds about right. Yeah, it must have been, or it may have been 2017 even. I wasn't really sure what to expect at all. I don't think I ever saw myself getting to 400 subscribers. Like, it's one of those things where you're like, when you start a YouTube channel, you're like, oh, it'd be last year and everything that happened involving that, but it was during like the time when I was at the other job that I worked at in between employments of my current employer, that I discovered ASMR. And I started with Korean Asadori, who I still watch occasionally, but less so now, and ASMR Alyssa. And off the back of a collab with ASMR Alyssa, I discovered Axolotl ASMR. He was like in one of our Unordinary, like one, I think it was the first mega Unordinary collab she did, and I discovered his channel and started watching his videos, and he has been a massive supporter of me from the start. And if you are watching this, I hope you're watching this, Axolotl. Thank you so much for always supporting my channel. But yeah, there are other wonderful ASMR artists that I watch. Star Lady, ASMR. Gosh, you know when your head goes blank and you're like, I'm sure there are others that I should be mentioning. But I apologise if I have not mentioned you, and you are an ASMRist who I watch. It's no disrespect, my head is just going right now because I'm gonna start talking about some things that I've never really talked about to potentially such a wide audience. So yeah, when I started my channel, I suppose I was coming out the back end of the depression that I was experiencing, and things were on the up, but even though I didn't particularly realise or want to accept it at the time, I was in a marriage where I don't want to say deeply unhappy, because I don't know if I was, but I don't know if that was denial. And apologies if you are watching this and you are a friend of my ex-husband. This isn't meant as an insult to him in any way, and please do not take it as that, and please do not tell him that I've been saying things about him on YouTube, because it's just not true. I'm not going to go into details too much. I don't know if any of his friends do subscribe to my channel. Well, I can think of one, but I don't know whether he'd particularly report back, as it were. But yeah, I was unhappy in my marriage, even if I perhaps didn't realise it at the time. And I was still struggling to stop because of the postnatal depression. And I tried to carry on as normal, but I couldn't. I felt really unsupported by him and kind of alone in everything that was going on around me. And same house just because it was the easiest thing to do at the time. He began dating, and so did I. I began seeing someone who probably wasn't great for me, but I do have notoriously bad taste in men. Something I will openly admit, and if you're one of my exes watching this, I will still stand by that. There's only like one or two that I would say, no, you're not a bad person. Like, I suppose my ex-husband, even though he probably wasn't right for me, I would never say he was a bad person or a bad choice. He was a very lovely guy. It was just in being a good father, he became a bad husband, but I would always rather him be a good dad to our daughter. He began dating someone who had 2 kids, and I don't know if it was her or it was him, but he kind of changed a little bit after I started seeing her. Anyway, by the April of that year, it was kind of like, I'm sick of living in a house with my ex. I need to move out because I don't want arguments. I want a clean break. So, because our house still hasn't sold, I ended up renting somewhere where the rent was ridiculously cheap, but the reason the rent was ridiculously cheap was because the landlord was an absolute asshole. I had no heating or intermittent heating for all of winter. I had issues with rats. I had lights that just didn't work. Like, there was no, when I moved in, there was like a load of rubbish that was left by the previous tenant, and like there was no back gate and stuff like that. And my ex-father-in-law ended up installing a gate and removing all the rubbish because the landlord just wasn't. I left a note when I moved out informing the new tenants about the issues I'd had, and then just in case they hadn't got it, a couple of weeks ago when I posted a note through the door as well, and I gave them instructions on how to get the heating to work a little bit for them, just in case they do have a child, or like, because the weather is changing now. And yeah, it was so ridiculously cold in that house when the heating wasn't working. So hopefully that's helped them a little bit. But yeah, what was I? Yes, moving into my own place. I moved into my own place, and I guess I didn't realise at the time, and I guess a lot of people around me didn't realise at the time, or if they did, they didn't say anything. But I started drinking a lot, which isn't particularly like me. When I was in uni, I was a big drinker, it started closing. So we're like, we can't do that now, because it's illegal. And so I think like that first week of proper lockdown in the UK in March, we were kind of like, what are we going to do if this is for 3 weeks? Like, we're not going to see each other for 3 weeks, and we would like video call and stuff like that with each other. But it obviously it wasn't the same. And then after a couple of weeks, well, I think it was, to be fair, it was only after a week, because I knew I wasn't going to stay in that awful rat-infested house. And like the whole finding somewhere to rent was kind of dodgy at that point, because you couldn't do viewings, and I wasn't going to rent somewhere based on a virtual viewing. So John was like, look, you can move in with me for a couple of months till you find somewhere. And then after like lockdown started, because my birthday occurred kind of a few weeks into lockdown, I was like, look, I don't want to be alone on my birthday. So, and the chances are this lockdown's going to be extended past my birthday. Sorry if you can hear the dog clawing at the door. So I think I just, one evening, I just packed a suitcase and said, right, John, I'm coming over and I'm staying. And he was like, that's fine. The only exception really when I was going back was when I would have Casey, because her bed was still at mine and Jordan didn't really know her at that point. And I felt like it would be too much of a crazy transition. So I kind of put it off and then met up a couple of times, and then because I said to the ex, like, look, once my tenancy is over, I'm gonna move in with Jordan. And so he was like, well, I want to meet him. Sorry, just the dog being needy. Yeah, I want to meet him first, so I organised that and that went fine. And like when I was going back to my old place, I basically just wasn't sleeping on the weekend and having awful panic attacks, because I could hear the rats and stuff, and I was just terrified that they were gonna hurt Casey or get in the bedroom, because I'd had one in the bedroom at one point as well, and that just was not a fun experience. And so I slowly moved things across. Like, I think I was living out of the suitcase for about 2 months, and then I was like, look, we might as well just bring my set of drawers through, because if I'm spending all my time here, I might as well have all my clothes here and then just take like a bag through when I'm back at mine. And so did that. Then in June I moved everything across and moved like the bigger items of furniture into a storage unit, because you know in a few months I was obviously gonna find my own place. But then like I think it was after a couple of weeks, I kind of said to John, like, look, do you really want me to leave after a couple of months? And he was like, well, no. And I think that was the point, that it was like, yeah, I'm here to stay. And now obviously we've got a dog together, which is a pretty big commitment, at the start of September, because in the UK you have to be separated for 2 years unless you put adultery down as a reason for the separation of the marriage. honestly couldn't imagine myself as happy as I am with Jordan, with anybody else, which is a great thing. And yeah, obviously now we have Rossi, who is like our hairy child, and Jordan's now less scared of being around Casey, and can put up with Paw Patrol endlessly. And to be fair, she's quite comfortable around him, to the point where she did actually throw a tantrum for him one time. It was hilarious because I think it was only like the second or third time she was around here, and she just threw this massive tantrum, and he was just sat there like, what do I do? And I was just there like, calm down, Casey, use your words, what's wrong? And it was basically because she was tired, because she's just not worth knowing when she's tired, and to be fair, so am I, so she probably gets that from me. I apologise for the length of this video, and I probably have rambled a lot about a lot of things. I kind of wanted to do like my life from the start of this channel to my life now, and yeah, I did get a bit emotional in the middle, and like I find it hard to cry in front of people I don't know, so that's probably the only reason, or people I don't know that well, or showing any sort of vulnerability really. Yeah, so that's probably why I did manage to hold it together. It was just a bit of a wobbly bottom lip. But yeah, I do, even though, like I said, I don't know you all well, you are all my friends, and thank you, every single one of you, for being part of my channel, being part of my growth to 400 subscribers. If you've made it to this far in the video, thank you. Maybe not a lot of you will have, maybe